Ahead tonight, the Prime Minister is back in town after high-level talks in Trinidad.
We also have an education budget breakdown.
And a major shake-up soon at the College of the Bahamas. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us.
The Bahamas could be getting set to see more of a benefit from its relationship with China. The country's leader and several Caribbean heads held separate discussions with the Chinese president this weekend.
China has diplomatic ties with a number of Caribbean countries, and it has been a generous partner in helping small island states. Opal Roach tells us more about the latest rounds of discussions held in Port of Spain.
With a national budget on the table and a number of projects in the pipeline, government is looking for monies to fund those initiatives. It could be getting that help from the powerhouse in the Far East to invest in the areas of agriculture, education, culture, and tourism. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie held discussions with Chinese President Xi Jinping over the weekend in Trinidad. A number of regional leaders met there in hopes of deepening relations with one of the world's fastest growing economies.
The president indicated that they were going to make a significant grant to the Bahamas, that they would make loans that are being made available to the region, available to the Bahamas if we so desired, and that he would expect relations between our countries to grow even stronger in terms of some of the things that I would like to see happen in our country.
Now, a major concern to the Christie administration is the stipulation associated with funding from China. Those officials from the Far East normally require that their nationals work on Asian-funded projects. There was a bit of controversy over the Bahama investment as Chinese laborers outnumbered locals. However, Prime Minister Christie addressed the issue.
I said to the president that it was important for us to be a little bit more creative between ourselves in the relations, because in many instances where Chinese labor come in, we would wish to negotiate a higher content of Bahamian labor, because we have unemployment and we really want Bahamians to participate in the progress that is being made. And the president responded positively. He said that, he recognized that when they actually financed, that they would want some of their experts to be there, but that he will speak to the investors with a view to getting more Bahamians employed.
And while both countries hope to gain from each other in a number of areas, Mr. Christie feels the Bahamas can benefit greatly by tapping into the Asian tourist market.
The Chinese president told me that, like America, who markets their country as a tourist destination in China, the Bahamas and other countries in the Caribbean must do the same thing. And the fact that direct flights are going into the United States of America means that they could come into the region, whether from China, whether from Russia, etc. But the Chinese in particular proved to be, in terms of their spending per capita, excellent tourists.
Now, overall, Prime Minister Christie says both countries will continue to strengthen ties which date back to 1997. I'm Opal Roach, ZNS Network News.
A meeting will be held tonight with parents concerned over the pending closure of the Mabel Walker Primary School on Tucker Road. Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald will hold a meeting with those parents to discuss the matter. The meeting is set for 7:30 tonight with those parents, some of whom are resisting the closure of the school, which has been a feature of the community for decades. The plan is to convert the school into a teacher training facility. Meantime, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson said she's already spoken with teachers teachers at the school and have also given their concerns to education officials. She said the teachers expect at least to be able to choose their new school appointments.
Well, planned investments in the youth through improvements in education are coming. That from Prime Minister Perry Christie. Just this week, during the presentation of the budget communication, the construction of new schools, among other educational initiatives, was announced. Carla Palmer has more.
In excess of $242 million has been allocated between the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology and the Department of Education. For Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie, making educational opportunities available in an environment conducive to learning is a high priority of the government.
My government continues to emphasize its commitment to higher educational standards and better outcomes, as well as more effective skills training, all of which are also vitally important to the future. My government has allocated, in the context of the country's strategy agreed with the Caribbean Development Bank, over $30 million for education, and this will be primarily directed towards special education and the transition of the College of the Bahamas to university status.
Additionally, there is a move afoot for new schools to be built.
My government is also allocating $5.5 million of our own resources to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology in 2012-2014 for the construction of new primary and secondary schools in Inagua, San Salvador, Gregorytown, and Los San Andres.
The government is also giving focused attention to children with special needs. According to Prime Minister Christie, the effort here needs dedicated commitment. He says the government will rent and renovate Our Lady's Catholic Primary School, which recently closed. This new initiative will facilitate the move to accommodate some 100 special needs children.
Further recognizing the need for heightened attention to those with special needs, it is equally a pleasurable experience for me to indicate that my government also plans to begin construction in New Providence of a new educational and multi-purpose facility for persons with special needs. We are also committed to providing facilities in our schools for persons with special needs. In addition, we want to ensure that when they are no longer able to attend schools like Garventines, for example, facilities such as the one to be developed and provided where they may attend during the day, Mr. Speaker, will be introduced.
Prime Minister Christie says it is the government's intention to ensure that our public education system becomes more inclusive in meeting the needs of students of all abilities throughout the Bahamas. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
Education has traditionally captured one of the biggest chunks of the budget. That's the case again this fiscal period, but according to Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald, the $1 million cut was canceled out after cleaning up the books.
We were able to save in some areas during the course of the year, so we didn't actually spend all the money that was budgeted to the Department of Education. And so really at the end of the day, you'll find that we probably saved $1 million or so. In some of the areas we were able to find some efficiencies, and so it's really a wash at the end of the day.
But the budget did see an increase in a key area, teachers' salaries. Nearly 200 new teachers will address lingering shortages.
We were able to hire over 180 new teachers, new posts, put new posts in around about $5 million, and we were able at the same time to clean up the payroll, which had quite a few teachers on the register who were not actually teaching for some reason or other. They weren't being paid, but they were being budgeted for. And so we had a whole process to clean it up.
And year over year, enrollment increases the shaky economy has produced over the last 5 years or so are, according to the minister, under control, albeit unbalanced by the population shift.
We have plans now to build some new schools in those areas in the upcoming years in order to alleviate that. But at the end of the day, what we're finding is that the schools in the inner cities are really being less and less populated and underpopulated actually. And so that's I guess an area for concern. But at the end of the day, we have to try and put the schools as close as we can to where the population is. And so we don't have a problem with capacity. We can hold the kids. We may not be able to place them, in a school that's closest to them. And so that's really the challenge that we're facing.
Those new schools account for a tripling of the allocation compared to 2 years ago for school construction and repairs. In addition to that, Minister Fitzgerald links the campaign promise of doubling the investment in education to an addition of 500 new preschool placements and a 10% increase in the value of scholarship grants, which were improved by 25% the fiscal year before.
Well, the College of the Bahamas president, Dr. Betsy Vogel-Bose, will not have her contract renewed once it expires at the end of the year. COB Council advised in a press statement today that it has resolved and mutually agreed with Ms. Vogel-Bose not to retain her employment. Dr. Vogel-Bose was appointed president in 2010, commencing January 1st, 2011. In a letter to Council Chairman Alfred Sears, Ms. Vogel-Bose identified the need for COB to be led by a Bahamian. The council, in its statement, thanked the president for her service and expressed appreciation for her commitment to cooperate in an orderly transition in its leadership.
Following the death of 3 residents of Mayaguana killed in a freak aviation accident in April, the Ministry of Transport and Aviation has purchased solar lights to put an end to the practice of residents lighting the runway with their vehicles to facilitate emergency flights.
Now, Transport and Aviation Minister Glenys Hannah Martin says temporary lights were purchased just over a week ago and delivered to that island to facilitate emergency flights. The minister says permanent lights have also been purchased but will be transported and installed once the work on the runway is completed by the I Group.
Their role really is to manage the construction. We've met with them because the project has lagged for years. It's been stalled basically, and it's impacted Mayaguana. So we've met with them, and as a result of that, we have agreed a timeline, which they say they will begin June 11th, and for a period of 12 weeks there will be continuous construction, and at the end of that 12-week period they expect, or earlier, they expect the runway to be completed.
Now, Hannah Martin also revealed that once construction is complete, the national flag carrier, Bahamas Air, will resume its service to that southern island.
We have purchased permanent lights, and they're due to be shipped into the country by August, and which is around the time we expect the runway to be completed, when the permanent lights will be installed. And on the completion of the runway, it's anticipated that Bahamas Air will resume flights to that island, which Bahamas Air has not been able to access that airport for more than 2 years, which has had a significant impact on the Mayaguanan community. And so the restoration of that airlift is going to be quite significant, because it also affects things like the doctor coming from Inagua to Mayaguana. As it is now, he would have to go to Nassau to come back to Mayaguana, to come back on Leah to Mayaguana.
In our first look at weather, tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, that coupled with a mid-level trough which is expected to move over the northwest Bahamas, and a front boundary that will stall just to the north of us, will provide some unsettled weather over the next several days. But outside of our studios just now, we have mostly cloudy skies. Your temperature 81 degrees, relative humidity 74%. Winds out of the northeast at 3 knots. Your barometric pressure 1,015.0 millibars. That's 29.97 inches, and it is rising. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Family Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
And still ahead tonight, Stephen Dye Stubbs back in court. We've got the latest.
Plus, some of our top athletes get ready for competition. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight. I'm one of those people born in an independent Bahamas, but there are 3 things that I've observed that bring us all together. It's either hurricanes, junk canoe, or independence. And whether it's seeing our people gather in small numbers for a Domino's game, or seeing thousands of people gather on Fort Charlotte, there's nothing prouder than seeing my people get together as one.
This portion of the news is brought to you by KFC Nassau. KFC Nassau is so good.